You know, I heard a great definition of confidence the other day. You want to know what it is? Good. You came to the right place then, didn't you? I think this has got to be the most concise version I've ever heard because, like all of these namby-pamby words, you can have any definition that you like and it's sort of generally around that area and you think, yeah, but can you just give me a guideline, you fuck? Come on. And I think that this is the most concise way to get to that general feeling that you're looking for when you hear the word confidence. And I don't think that it's so much this, because when you imagine confidence, don't you imagine this man of steel who can withstand bullets and due to his sheer willpower will not only live, thrive. You think of that. I think this is a better phrase for it because it's a lot closer to actually what confident people do, which is they kind of just feel the fear and do it anyway, if I may borrow one of the most cliched books in self-help history, and I always do frequently anyway, you just don't know because you don't have an autistic memory of 80s self-help books. Here's the definition though. Confidence is the knowing, not the knowledge, the knowing that if you fail, everything's going to be okay. That obviously wasn't the correct definition. But look, oopsie doopsie. I just wanted to give you what I could remember of it because, I'd have to actually read a sentence, okay? And that's not my style. I instead am trying to just get you that feeling. And that's close enough. So just write down my misquoted version of it. This will just be like when you go through texts throughout the ages and you go, oh, actually it was thou doth protest a little too much, right? It's exactly the same thing. I'm going to be just as remembered as Shakespeare for my confidence is been good at stuff. But yes, obviously confidence also goes into the competence of it. But how do you get to the competence? It's knowing that if you fail, everything's going to be okay. Now this very closely links to people that have that sick childhood. You always see someone that had really loving parents. And because they had those really loving parents, they understand that if they make a mistake and they screw up, they're still going to get the, oh, don't worry, baby, I still love you. As a 40-year-old man, their old grandma mum is going to be sitting there kissing their bottom being like, there you go, nice and clean. They understand that if they screw up in life, it's not the end of the world. Why are there so many kids that had bad parents that end up neurotic and have all of these problems and have to go to child psychologists for the rest of their life, even if they do become successful? Because the way that they become successful is because they're trying to overcompensate of, if I become a lawyer, then my dad will love me, right? That's what's going on in their minds. But then the person that is, has that inner core confidence, that usually comes from, well, I just want to be a lawyer and I know that I can achieve that. Two different places, two very different places. And you know what's even scarier? You can sense it when you meet someone. Unless they get really good at acting and then pretend that they're fine inside, like actors do. But those are the rare exceptions. You can usually sense where someone is on the inside just by looking at their face. In fact, I highly recommend that you do it from now on. Just look at just try and see how much someone has in their face this feeling of like, I'm deeply insecure inside, because there's two dead giveaways from it. The first one is obviously they have that beaten dog look of like, if I look into someone's eyes, I'm probably just going to get hit again. They have that look, or they do the overconfidence thing like that guy that I just put up in Lux listings, being like, yeah, so zany and outrageous, but at the same time, I'm just a mash of everything that's kind of cool at the moment. Those are the two ways that it normally goes. And then I just want you to see somebody who has that core confidence. And you know what that core confidence really comes to? They don't apologize for being themselves. Usually people that have a great internal of just like, that's okay, mummy still loves you, inside themselves. They are themselves. You cannot mistake them for anyone else on the planet. You meet them and you think, yep, I'm never going to meet another of you. Anybody else that you ever meet that is an insecure human being, you're going to meet many of them. Because they're all trying to fit some little context of, oh, if I wear these clothes, then I'm going to be accepted. So they start blending in like scared bison. Ooh, 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 is the lion coming after me? Wimps. So, I think this actually is, and the reason I wanted to talk about it was because I was just sitting around, and I was admittedly doing a shit while I was sitting around. But while I was, this popped into my mind that when I first started out in comedy, I wrote to Will Anderson like the little worm with legs that I have. I didn't have hands at the time. I grew them later when I grew to confidence. So I just have my legs up being like, Dear Will Anderson, what do you do to become heaps famous and fucking funny and have a lesbian's haircut like you? Which now that I look at it, I have copied that entirely. Please tell me now. Sincerely, some piece of shit 17-year-old that is too scared to ask the girl that I like out on a date and still regret to this day. But, right, so what happened then? What happened then? You don't know. Okay, this is very... Of course you're not going to know. He wrote back to me and said, hey man, yeah, thanks, it's really nice of you. I've got one piece of advice for you, and it was an old cliche point, but I think that this, because I've seen him say it in other things like his little year 12, hey kid, you can accomplish it, yeah, right, speeches. It's always with this. He wrote, what if you knew that you couldn't fail? That right there is confidence. The general emotion that you want around that is pretty much just coming from good parenting. And if you didn't have good parents, did you know this? Sorry, this got a little bit too teary for a Thursday arvo, but did you know you can be your own parents? So, you can just give yourself that acknowledgement, right? You can give yourself the approval that it's okay if I screw up. I'm still going to be here. That's fine. If your parents didn't teach you to ride a bike without the training wheels, and so you scuffed over and over yourself, and then there was a bunch of other kids on the street that were a little bit older being like, what a baby, I can ride with 2 wheels. This kid sucks. He'll never learn. And that is what's running through your mind. And so you're scared of making those mistakes. You can change that. And you can change it very easily. And it's really just coming down to knowing that confidence is really just the confidence to fuck up many, many, many times until you find a way through. That is what confident people do. Have you ever actually noticed that? Have you ever talked to somebody who is confident and they're kind of like bombing, as the comedians would say, in just day-to-day conversation? They're not hitting. And everyone's kind of still transfixed, like, yeah, that's awesome. But you know when someone who isn't confident, and they might actually be saying profound things. In fact, the other day I was just talking to one of these guys, and he was saying really good, witty things off the cuff, but he was also apologizing for it, going, sorry, yeah, that's shit. That was what was editing through his mind, and he was obviously much more intelligent than I was. He was coming up with connections like that. But unfortunately, he didn't have that inner knowing of, no, you actually are able to say that, and you're not going to die. Yeah? I'll give you another example, actually. The other day, because we missed our flight, because we were just being extremely polite, there was a huge line at the airport. We were in line for an hour and a half. And so we missed it because we're idiots. We thought, they'll just wait for us because we were being polite, so the air hostess is going to be polite to us. Well, they just went away, obviously. And then we just got the piece of advice from the bag lady, because we had to go back, get our bags, and she said, no, love, you just got to push your way in. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Law of the jungle up there, honey. So we walked up, and this time went straight to the front of the queue with some Indian guy being like, no, please go to the back. And we said, you saw us specifically for the last hour standing in line, and you told other people, go back and wait in line like these well-behaved young boys. And he said, okay, well, just know that you're being very selfish. And then just walked away. And then you realize, oh my God, you could be such a cunt in this world and there could be no repercussions, just a little dirty, and everything's fine, and you get exactly what you want. Now, I'm not saying don't be a cunt like we were. Look, as if we weren't justified at that time. We're not going to miss 2 flights. I think everybody else in the queue as well was like, yeah, like fair. But obviously, from my perspective, that's exactly what happened. But I'm saying that there was that confidence of, all right, let's just try and do that. And if you get pushed to the back of the queue, you get pushed to the back of the queue. That is the worst thing that can happen in that scenario. A really good way to do this, if you have that pessimistic mind, Tim Ferriss talks about this, you ask yourself the question, what is the worst that can happen for me doing X? And if you can live with X, then do it. If you can't live with X, that's fine. But instead of just allowing things to ruminate, as always, you want to write it down, because writing something down is an action. It's a half-assed action, but it's still an action. So I want you to be doing that. And I want you to write down that piece of information. Confidence equals the confidence to fail. That's confidence. The ability to be like, that sucked. Get up and do it again. That's all it is. There's no trick to it. It's just a simple trick. Now, if you want more simple tricks, you better sign up to Jordan Shanks, because you will be getting many, many more simple tricks that are very simple to implement. Hard to actually follow through on, like all the simple things in life. But if you do follow through on them, I've had numerous emails at this point now saying, not just that you've turned my life around, like boring, loser, whatever. Come back to me when you're making millions, okay? I've had emails of people saying that they've made millions from this channel, this specific channel. In fact, I see people, and in their work, they're copying my fucking thoughts. Cunts. But that's okay, man. Just spread it around. But don't copy the videos that are in Jordan Shanks, all right? In fact, I shouldn't have even given you that idea. Just sign up to Jordan. Come on. You owe me a coffee. Pay me a coffee. You do, though. You do. You fucking do. You know it.